Hello, and thank you for watching Traffic Light Reviews. My name is Steven Munoz.
And my name is Michael Munoz. And today on this episode of Traffic Light Reviews, we're going to be talking about a documentary on Netflix called Mucho Mucho Amor. Now, for those of you that are not Spanish speaking, that is lots and lots of love in English. Now, Steven, can you tell our audience what exactly this is about?
Well, it unfortunately might be reflective of my review. This is a movie that people don't need to watch.
Okay, yeah,
I do believe that if you're Puerto Rican, specifically, because yes, it is about Walter Mercado, probably the only. There were others, but none like growing up in our heritage. That like if you were Puerto Rican, you knew who Walter Mercado was.
Yes.
Also, yes, he did reach 180 million Latin American people even across the world. He was the biggest figure that you did not need to care about. Just because back in that time there was no instant horoscopes where I could just pull it up on an app. You had to read the paper for your horoscope, or you listen to these people on TV, and one of which was Walter Mercado, Puerto Rican descent, and he didn't just give you your horoscope. He gave you hope, and he gave you an entire life story in the few minutes where he would read your horoscope.
Well, keep in mind, Walter Mercado is the very first televised astrologer in the history of television. He was the first person to televise your horoscope to the viewing public. After a while, there were a lot of copycats that came out after him, but he was the first and he was the best. He was revered not only by the Puerto Rican community, but by people all over the world that really believed in his message of hope and love. And I am ashamed to say that I never felt any of these things growing up. When I watch Walter Mercado, because we come from a Puerto Rican family, both our parents are Puerto Rican. My father's from the island, my mom's from Spanish Harlem. They watched Walter Mercado whenever he was on, and I was always confused as a child. What am I looking at? His hair was always perfect, kind of looked like this helmet of hair all the time, and you couldn't tell if he was a man or a woman. You might have thought he was a wizard from the way he dressed. He was a very eccentric character that as a child you don't really understand.
Well, that's why I loved what the documentary did, was touch on those things.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like it was literally it was a love letter to Walter Mercado. You know what I mean? Like, absolutely. This was not going to paint him in a bad light, this movie. So they're because of his soft feminine features that they allude to. The question of his sexuality, and I forgot the guy's name in the documentary, but they just put his assistant, yes. Walter Mercado's assistant, and he goes on to say, "I've never touched him," blah blah blah. Like, man, you've been with that guy all those years, and none of you have ever done anything. The two of you just hung out and played, Scrabble or whatever, or the Puerto Rican cards. I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things where, yes, he was interviewed so many times in his life about it, that he doesn't believe in sexuality, this or that. He just wanted to serve the people. He wanted to give his message out to the people. So he really did that. That's what he stuck to. And I respect that for what it was worth. As a kid, I didn't understand that.
Yeah, you don't get that. You don't get that.
As a kid, I just see this man with so many, like, every time, the idea of never wear the same thing twice. And of course it even comes in with his capes, because he has decadent suits that are decked out with anything that could shine, glimmer, or glisten, as on top of his capes, on top of his jewelry. And they take you into his house. This was unfortunately shot very close to his death. This documentary, so we're seeing him at an old age being interviewed, and so they he allows the filmmakers into his house, shows them his entire collection. It really was extravagant, like this, and the only thing you can't do is anything else but feel sorry for the man after you learn his story through the documentary. Because they bring up that point, like, where did he go? Where did Walter Mercado go? And I remember as a kid thinking, where did he go? Because everything else was still around.
I'm ashamed to say,
everything else.
I thought he was dead. I thought he had died. In fact, when I saw the documentary, because my mom was a big fan of Walter Mercado, she used to watch him all the time. When I saw the documentary, appear on Netflix on my homepage. I thought, oh, cool, a documentary about Walter Mercado. Let me watch it. And I start watching it, and I see Walter Mercado is in the documentary. So he's in the documentary in present day. I believe it was shot in like 2018, 2019. And I'm thinking, oh my, so he's alive. He's alive. I thought he had passed away. And I was so ignorant to the fact that he had passed away just recently that I'm watching the whole documentary thinking he's alive. Wow. Like, and then by the end of the documentary, he does pass. Spoiler alert. He does pass. They say, like, he died, shortly after, this documentary. And I'm watching, and I actually got sad. I actually started to feel sad because this guy that I did not know and I thought I knew my whole life, I learned so much more about him in this documentary, and I felt for him. I felt for him as a person, for what he was trying to accomplish, for how he was screwed over by some of the people that was closest to him, and the powerful message that resonated with so many people. I never realized he touched people on that level. I thought he was just a joke. It was just a funny lady man, in dresses and capes, saying Capricornio, Scorpio, and then giving you your horoscope. And I really felt a lot for this documentary. I'm really glad I saw it. First thing I did was tell my mom, do you have Netflix? Because you need to see Mucho Mucho Amor. And I hope she watched it.
Well, my wife was a big fan of Walter Mercado.
Really? Oh, wow.
Her mother made her watch Walter Mercado religiously, like a lot of Spanish parents made their children watch. I guess when it came to what I felt, I knew he was this prominent figure. You there was no way in hell you can grow up Puerto Rican and not know who he is.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So yes, when there's a documentary, it's like, why not? I don't really know anything about his life. I hope they touch on why he disappeared. They did. So I got the questions I was looking for answered. And sadly so. Because also sometimes in these documentaries, it almost wants to feel like a comeback story or something, like maybe because at the end of it he gets his show in Miami in the gala, and you almost think like, man, what if all that bad stuff didn't happen to him? Like a lot of people, what if they actually had the chance to go? Now, I still don't think Walter Mercado would have come out on top either which way. Because at the time, like 97, 98, like when he goes off the air, he's in his lawsuits and stuff. This is the time the internet is sprawling up and just bashing astrologers. Like Miss Cleo pretty much shut down after 9/11. Because
really,
Miss Cleo,
I forgot all about her.
Miss Cleo vanished because people are like, oh, why didn't you predict this about it was a real big thing. And I feel like Walter Mercado got out before that could damage him. Right. You know what I mean? Before all these guys took their hits and definitely were just resided to an app. I remember even having a daily horoscope app with the first few smartphones that didn't even have like an Android market. Like even before there was an iPhone store or an Android market, Apple Play, Google Play, whatever. They still had Android. They still had like a horoscope app because people wanted to see their horoscope, and I actually had that on my phone, 2009, 2007, something like that, 2006. I can't even remember. I just remember like the accessibility to it was so easy that there was no point to care about the individual that was giving it to you. Walter Mercado took that and turned it into, I think a bad word to say is circus, but but the circus is such a beautiful thing sometimes, how it could just take so many elements and make it seem a lot much bigger than it is. But when you realize, I'm just looking at a bunch of elephants crapping on the floor and a guy in a cage with tigers, like it's just a few things. Walter Mercado is just one man standing to tell you your horoscope, but he put on a show, he put on a pomp and circumstance that was unmatched, unwavered. But if you didn't know who he was, I would understand.
Yeah.
He I've met people that didn't even know who Michael Jackson was till Michael Jackson died. Like that is a serious thing. Some people just.
How old were they?
No. They were around at the time when Michael Jackson died. They were around my age. Wow. They were from different countries, and some people, they just don't get access to everything. So, yes, when I talk about this documentary being one that not everybody needs to see because you're not going to get anything out of it, You're really, if you did not know who this man was, if you did not know what he was about, there's unfortunately there's nothing really there for you.
Well, I disagree. I disagree, and I'm going to say this because there are documentaries just like this one that I've seen that I'm not aware of the characters or the stories until I've seen the documentary. The story is about a man. It's about a man who came from nothing, who developed something for himself, became a success, things took a downhill spiral, and he's reflecting on that. I think people in general can relate to that. You know, we want to see somebody who goes up, who goes down, who succeeds. His story is a very familiar story, and the documentary is just that. It's a story about a guy. It just happens to be this guy. Now, if you're talking about Walter Mercado specifically, I agree with you. People aren't going to know who that is, but I do believe that if anybody watches it, they're gonna get something out of it. Even if you don't know Walter Mercado, I think you're gonna get something out of it because it's a human story. It's a story about success and failure, love lost, love gained, all that stuff, and it's something that we all can relate to. You know, so yeah, so I respectfully disagree a little bit.
Well, I guess when it comes to ratings, I have to give it two ratings. I have to give it my Puerto Rican rating first. I have to give this a green light. Um, but yes, if I were to tell everybody else, you're not gonna lose anything by watching it. But yes, definitely on a whole, this gets a yellow light from me.
Oh, okay. Well, it definitely get the green light from me. In general, you know, as far as documentaries go, it's very well made. It tells the story from beginning to end. It answers questions you may have had. And right now, yes, I'm speaking for the um, audience that will watch this because they're familiar with Walter Mercado. For those of you that are not into Walter Mercado or know who Walter Mercado is or don't care, you're right. I guess I agree. You don't have to see this. You don't have to see this. You've seen a bunch of documentaries like this about successes and failures, life, love, all that stuff, and people coming to terms with it. That's what this story is. It just happens to be about this guy. And only people that are truly interested in this guy, Senor Walter Mercado, are going to watch this documentary and they're gonna be very enlightened by what they hear. So I give it a green light across the board. For those of you not interested, you don't have to see it. You're not gonna miss anything. But if you got some free time, check it out. Me and Steven hope that you like this episode of Traffic Light Reviews. Please, as always, let us know what you think in the comment down below. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know what we can do differently. Let us know what you want us to review. And we'll see you next time.